Okay, so we are testing our listing endpoint successfully, but we are still hitting the real database, which is a problem. We can show this if we stop it. So Docker compose stop DB. And if I rerun the tests now, we can see that the tests actually fail. So we're going to restart it. And we're going to modify these tests so that they don't use the real database. So the crux of the matter is that we have to mock PG itself. And if we can intercept what this query returns, then we'll be able to basically just prove that it does call the database, but in the tests, give it back whatever we want. So to do this, we have to make a couple of changes here. The first one is we are going to create a mock query. And now it's saying that jest is not defined, so we have to bring in jest. So far, so good. Now, the problem is that using the ES6 modules in jest, the support is not finished yet. And the mocking functions in jest get hoisted to the top. And the issue is going to be that the mocks will be finished before the imports happen, which means that the real functions never get mocked. So we have to make sure that we're doing dynamic imports and we're doing them after the mock is applied. So jest.mock PG. And so here, we're going to have to change this to import differently. So const db equals await. And then here we're going to use a dynamic import. And we're going to do the exact same thing for PG. Const PG equals await import PG. And now we have a different problem because so this is saying it can't destructure rows because it's not defined. And that's because we changed the definition of PG now to be a mock function. Now, in addition, I know that we're going to have to add a configuration here for jest. This also comes from the documentation when you're enabling ES6 modules. And I'm going to go ahead and do this now. And I know that this also requires a restart of jest. Okay, so now we have this problem where can't destructure rows because it's undefined. And so we're going to create our own implementation of this mock function. So basically what's happening here is that pool is not returning query, which is not then returning rows. So we're going to have to spider through all of that. So here we're going to go ahead and return an object that has a pull function. And this in turn will return an object that will return a query function. We may have a typo here. What is this? Jest.fn returns this one. All right, let's see where we're at here. This one closes this, this one closes that, this one closes that, and there. No. I'm just going to rewrite this. Okay, so we're going to return an object that has a pool which returns another object. I'm sorry, returns a function. This is all still good. This function returns an object. And this object is a query mock. There we go. Okay. So now inside our test here, I'm going to go ahead and set the return value of the mock query. And I want to remember to constantly, before every test, we're going to reset these mocks so that they don't bleed over from test to test. Now in here, I'm going to say mock query dot mock resolved value, because this is an async function. We are awaiting it, so we need to return a promise. And what we're going to return here is something that has a row count of something like 0 and rows, which is something like an array. And our tests are passing now, and that's because this is an array. But we can actually do a little bit better. Now that we've got this all done, we can create our own test to-dos. And I'm just going to make this an array of to-dos. So ID is 1, task, let's say, is buy milk. And done is false. And then we'll have an ID of 2. Task can be something like walk the dog. One is still false here. Now here I'm going to expect my row count to be test to-dos.length, and I can expect this to be test to-dos entirely. That should not break the test at all. And here I can do better than this as well. I can expect to-dos to equal test to-dos. And finally, I can expect that mock query was called to in called times once. And now our tests are clean. The database does not need to be running for this anymore. And I can stop the database now, and the test should still run, which is very nice. So that concludes this section, and now everything is ready to go.